Outside of just the first version of the product that you built, if you think about of all the decisions that you've made in Incident, not just you, but let's say you, Chris, and Pete, let's
Mhm.
start there. What are the maybe 10% of decisions you made that drove 90% of the success that you think you've seen today?
Yeah, great question. I would go back to the like building a really revenue focused product team and building a product focused revenue team. Because what that has meant is that we've been able to keep a level of like customer centricity as we've grown, and that has not got like translated away.
Mm,
And as a result, like at our best, and I still think we have improvement to do here, we can be hyper responsive to customers, and we can empathize with them in a way that is hard for others to do. Because if we're selling to engineers and we have engineers with them speaking to them, there's a like kind of cheat code here and a shared language that I think is just sort of harder for our competitors to do. So that's something that our customers like deeply deeply value.
mm,
um Second is like probably ruthlessly dog fooding our own product,
mm,
which means that like we end up shaving away lots and lots of rough edges of the product.
mm,
Yes, because of customer feedback, but also because of our own annoyance with it. It's like this sucks, turn it off. It's like, okay, well, we should turn it off for customers as well. Like we don't let ourselves run, you know, we don't let ourselves drift far from like what we would give for customers versus what we run internally.
mhm,
Um, and that also means that like you can actually use Incident for really cool customer support use cases. So you can take an alert from something going wrong, which has, a particular organization or company that's affected. And then you can use our product to attach that customer being affected to this incident. And if we know who the customer is in Salesforce, well, we also know who their, customer success manager is. So as a result, we use our product both to shave the rough edges off of things, but also to like power great support experiences. I would say we are the first best user of our own product. We're obviously not the size of someone like Netflix, so it's hard to simulate that usage. We try and empathize definitely as best as we can. But I think if you build those two things, like a a like a GTM and a product org that have deep empathy and appreciation for each other, and sort of win together on these deals, and then you know, you build this tool where you're like the first best user of it. I just feel like if you do those two things, yes, you have to get some of the strategy right and all the other stuff, but like you've got such a strong base
mm.
that you can then like be resilient to any kind of shocks, changes that come on your way, and you can navigate and twist and turn. So those are probably like the two things. And that like I didn't, I was sort of like, negging myself a bit and being like the initial wedge wasn't really too much of a conscious thing. Like these two things were incredibly conscious. It was like
Mhm.
we sat down, we thought like, how do we want to do this? How do we want to build it? So they ended up paying off, I think, in the long run. And like, you know, I will sort of treasure them as we grow the company. We were very stubborn about
Mm,
people saying things like, yeah, but that will never scale. I'm like, you know,
mm,
watch me. It's like, well, we will do it until it breaks. And then when it breaks, we will do some version that is close as we can possibly get to it.
yeah. And so dog fooding your own product
Mhm.
and keeping sales and product slash eng
Mhm.
super close. What if I ask you the inverse of that? So what are the, let's say, 10% of the decisions that you folks made that drove 90% of the pain?
Yes. I think honestly, it just comes down to hiring, and like hiring is just it's just the thing that like every founder or person building a company will empathize
Mm,
as a sort of irreducibly hard and complex problem. There's things that you can do to reduce risk of hires that don't fit, or that
mm,
take you in the wrong direction or aren't the right fit for that part of the journey. But it's just really, really hard to know that
mm,
from first principles and from little experience of doing it. So I think, if I think about our journey, like we were three product minded engineers, and we'd sort of sold some of the software in the early days. Chris used to sort of pace up and down the hallways of his house, like, with his palms sweating before the first demos that he did because he was so nervous. And I think that gives you sort of an appreciation of like how new and novel some of these problems were that we were dealing with at the start.
mm,
But even if you sell your product, that's incredibly different to building a scaled go to market machine. You are essentially building a machine that delivers deals. You are not deliver, whereas if you sell things, you're delivering deals yourself. So I think that was just really, really tough for us to navigate. Is just to really understand, like, what do we actually need for this specific part of the journey, and how rapidly is what we need changing through this month, this quarter, this year. And I think that, like, so for if we go back to like the earlier stages of the company, we had proven that we could repeatedly sell things to customers, and we had then proven that we could hire a couple of reps that could repeatedly sell things to customers. And then it's like, well, what else do we need to see here? Like, we now need to grow this thing. And I think then at that point, we didn't realize sort of how quickly the mechanics shift. So you then need to be introducing like qualification criteria, like deal reviews, pipe reviews, BDR pods, and with AEs, there's a lot of complexity where, all of the skills that you've acquired about how to sell your product are not that useful in any of the kind of mechanics of building things. And as a result, like that meant that, I think that as we were navigating like hiring along the way, it was just really tough to know. I don't think we necessarily knew what we needed at any given time, because we just hadn't really done it before. And I think you sort of have to probably just have to burn your fingers a little bit and try it and see something and then learn from it. I reflect on, like, would I have made different decisions with the information that I knew then? Because it's very easy to sort of look back with hindsight. And I just think it would be hard to say, it would be hard to say that any of sort of the hiring that we did, would have necessarily like changed that much. And the people that we hired were like still valuable and impacted the company. It was more just, it's tough to know like deeply what you need for what point of the company. And I think, we still probably struggle with it for like many of the things that we've not hired before here yet. So we're still probably messing it up a bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, disproportionately painful.